Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our commitment is to help, hope, and healing of our veteran family and our nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran and a certified senior advisor. Join us as we continue the mission of leadership and commitment to our communities and our great country. Why, you never know where we're going to go or who you're going to meet. We invite you to join in, plug in, and share in what we do. This is your Veterans Impact Show.
Well, good day and welcome aboard. I'm Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. Joining me by Zoom, my partner, my best friend, my minister, Cedric White. Cedric, thank you for being on board. You had an emergency this morning, so instead of being here, you're now here, okay? And it all turned out okay. That's the good news?
Yeah, well as it could in that situation. Yes.
Okay, well, that's great. Cedric does a magnificent job, not only as a minister, but as a marriage counselor. He does military marriage counseling. They do it all over the world. Absolutely fantastic. Also, I need to say thank you to DBTV Network that puts us around the world on Amazon Fire, Roku, smart TVs, Apple TV, Spotify, Lord knows what else. There's so many. It's a real joy to work with DBTV and Dave Bruner. We're praying for your wife and we're praying for all that you guys do. Also, we're carried on the AUN network in Northern California. So we are coast to coast and around the world. We're here for you. We would love it if you would follow us, if you would send us a note, send us an email, jim@veteransimpactshow.com. I'm here for you anytime. Also, I want to say thank you to the Real News Network, Jeff Crilly, for making this possible. And thank you to my company, Fairway Independent Mortgage. My MLS number is 311-548. The corporate one is 2289. We are an equal opportunity lender. And that way, the attorneys are happy. Also, Symbios Integrative Health. We are alive and well and working with police departments and working with sheriffs, as well as working with veterans. And we're going to expand throughout this great nation so that the treatments that we do can help everybody. And finally, without a doubt, our church, our Healing Thine Hearts, is just great. So take a look at Healing Thine Hearts Ministry. Now, finally, I'm through all that stuff. I want to introduce some really great people. Ileana Vasquez. Ileana, you are the Director of Funding for the Texas Veterans Commission, dealing with the grants. What an amazing thing. You are the lady, when they say, show me the money, it's all about you, correct?
So I'm not the director, I'm the grant program supervisor. Our director is Irv Leos. But yes, everybody on our team is a big part of the whole process every year, from start to finish. So my team, we review applications, we submit them for recommendation, and throughout the year, my team corresponds with these organizations that actually do the work, that are boots on the ground, and provide these services to veterans.
It's fantastic. Let me tell you a quick story. I walked into a gas station after filling my car, and I said, I want a lottery ticket. And this lady goes, that's just throwing away money. I said, really? Let me tell you, this year, the Texas Veterans Commission is giving away $43 million to veteran service organizations that serve veterans throughout the state of Texas. Yeah. She got real quiet. I said, let me have a ticket.
Yes.
You do a lot of great things, and I've gotten to know your team. I was actually on your communications board a couple of years ago. So thank you for being part of this, and we're going to be talking more about that. Also, Kasey Brown, you and I have known each other for a couple of years. You're a Marine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't hold that against me. Navy and Marines, we like to kid each other, but I'm always reminded of what you guys say by Chuck Wright. Mm-hmm. Remember, the Marines are the men's department of the Navy.
That's right. He's got it.
And I tell you what, Cedric is Navy and I'm Navy, so you're outgunned this time.
Good thing he's on Zoom.
Yeah. And Becca, what a great name, Becca Hobby. I'd met you before, but I didn't remember. And you do some amazing things for spouses.
Yes.
And with the MVPN, that's the Military Peer Network, tell us a little bit about what you do with them, and we'll go around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm Becca Hobby, and I am the spouse of an Army veteran, and I get to connect with other spouses through the Military Veteran Peer Network. I help the families, the spouses. We do peer support groups and peer outings, and our primary focus is to come alongside them as a peer. With my own experience, I can share my story and give them the support and help that they need.
That's fantastic. Now, Kasey, tell us a little, because I'm sort of stepping up the ladder. Tell us a little bit about what you do with the MVPN.
Yeah, absolutely. So the same kind of mission that Becca has with the spouses to really facilitate connection in the veteran community. Now that is very broad, which we love because connection looks different for everyone. So we're able to look into the veteran community, look at the population surrounding us, and see what does the veteran need right now? Where do they find connection? Is it one-on-one? Is it in groups? Is it in the outdoors? Is it through art programs? And meet them where they are and really walk alongside them, like Becca said, and engage with the entire family. So we help them with everything from disability benefits, employment, education benefits, to just general camaraderie and having a community alongside you.
Yeah, and you're helping them get away from isolation.
Absolutely.
Which is one of the biggest problems we've got. So I asked you guys to come on, and I think Jim Holdenbrook made a point of we would like to have a recipient of a grant. So you applied for the TVC grant as part of this wonderful list. Tell me a little bit about that process and how did you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are supervised by our local mental health authority here in Denton. That's Denton County MHMR Center. So they write all the grants for us. We approach them with this grant opportunity. And really the heart of this grant, what we were trying to get was to get Becca full-time. So with our funding from Texas Health and Human Services, they allotted us 1.5 personnel. But as anybody that's in peer support knows, this is not really a typical 9-to-5 job. You never really turn off your working hours when you're dealing with peer support. So Becca was working full-time hours, getting part-time pay for about 2 years. And we said, all right, let's get enough funds to really help solidify her position. And in doing so, she can do even more for the veteran community, do more outings, reach more spouses, and really just leave much more of an impact on our community.
Cedric, you guys do marriage counseling, and your wife is a spouse of an Air Force veteran. Now she's a spouse of the Navy veteran. You know how important this is in the dynamics of a family.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for you to tell a little bit about what you do as well in that regard.
Yeah, as I'm listening to Kasey and Becca speak, it comes to mind some of the engagements that we have. Our organization collaborates with a lot of organizations here locally in Texas and literally around the U.S. To go out and do marriage training, marriage counseling, retreat facilitations, and things like that to ensure the health of the family. And I love what I'm hearing from MVPN in reference to getting these guys out of the house, getting them engaged with their community. Is a wonderful thing because isolation tends to be one of the biggest problems that a lot of veterans serve and veterans have. And then their spouses and families tend to get sucked into that isolation. So what you guys are doing is paramount. And what we try to do is come along and help with the relationship side of it from both spouses and children so that the family itself would be healthy. So this is great.
You know, Becca, without a doubt, I remember when I went in the Navy, and there were several guys that were married or thinking about marriage, and the chiefs, my DI said, hey, if the Navy wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one.
I've heard that.
Right.
It is very, very difficult to be the spouse of a military.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
And tell us a little bit about your experience so that people begin to understand. We're not just about the husband or the wife that served in the military. We're about taking care of the family, right, Cedric?
Exactly.
Okay, so Becca, tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so I met my husband when he had about 2 years left in the military. He had just got back from his second deployment, And so then we dated for a while across the country, and then he actually got sent to Korea to finish out his career in the Army. So essentially, the first 2 years of our relationship were spent across the world. So when he got out, the transition part was extremely difficult because I was not embedded in that military community. So I didn't really know how to even understand what it was like to be a military spouse, like on base with my husband. It was really, I was just in suburbia in Flower Mound. And so when he got out, transition was extremely difficult. But over the years, I found myself trying to seek something that I wasn't sure that I knew I needed. And then about 10 years into our relationship, which seems kind of wild, I met Kasey, an MVPN, and realized kind of the missing piece to my story was having other spouses that were walking the same journey as me, that could speak into my life in a healthy way. And that is a big passion of mine, is spouses wanting to keep the unit of the family together and fight for their husbands and fight for their families. And so once I was trained in Kasey trained me in military cultural competency, which is a training we give as peer coordinators here in Denton. I took that course about 3.5 years ago, and it completely changed my life. I did not realize the culture of the military to the extent that I learned in that course, and it just kind of set a fire under me to just reach as many spouses as I could. My husband is a combat veteran, so there are different types of spouses, right? Ones that were with their husbands when they were in. I also don't necessarily discriminate to spouse. I will work with girlfriends, with fiancés, family members, just to get them an idea of the perspective that we have. And as I learned more about his experiences, the more empathetic I became, the more I was knowledgeable about what goes on in the military, the better our marriage got. So, yeah.
Ileana, you must hear stories like this all the time. And of the various,
Yes.
how many organizations are served by the TVC, and how many grants did you guys put out? Because here's an example of the recipient of a grant and what they're doing to help veteran families. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and how many people you help.
So for the 25-26 grant cycle, we awarded 213 grants to all types of different organizations, including peer support that fall under the VMH program umbrella. There's like 3 subcategories under the VMH program umbrella. There's clinical counseling, there's peer support, and last year was our pilot for the service dog program. So under that mental health category, those are the 3 that are encompassed in that. So just to piggyback off of what Becca was saying, and that's exactly what she's doing. What she's doing by providing peer support that's the exact services that we want to fund. So it's services provided by a certified peer support specialist that is based upon the premise of an individual with lived experience, like lived-in experience. In this case, military service, and we understand that is uniquely able to contribute to the rehabilitation and recovery of those that are needing services. And so that grant specifically, that peer support services, is the folks that are eligible are their veterans and their spouses.
And this is a state of Texas agency. Now, when I had the executive director, Tom Palladino, on, he told me that there is this type of organization, a commission in every state in the United States. And at one time, he headed up the organization that's got all of these. This is not something that's unique to Texas, but I do think Texas takes a unique approach in terms of how far we go. And now we are the #1 populated state in the nation for veterans, correct?
Amazing. Yes, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the stats on that, but I can tell you that we take our our job very seriously, especially when it has to do with mental health services. The ability for veterans to receive these much needed services at no cost is really important to us, and it makes a difference. Life and death, it's sometimes a difference for somebody that's needing those clinical counseling services. And I'm just here. I think my main objective is to let everybody know that's listening that we do care. We take this, especially the mental health grants, very seriously. And we understand that there's a severe lack of mental health services in the state of Texas that I can attest to. Just exactly, those clinical counseling services need that support from those peer support services that these folks provide. So definitely.
Ileana, let me read off some of these service categories which are being serviced, and a lot of people don't know. Financial assistance, peer support services, transportation programs, housing for Texas Heroes, housing, that's basically working with the homeless population, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
we have homeless veteran support grants as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, and also there's a whole big long list in here of some pretty big grants for the Texas Treatment Court. And the treatment courts in Texas, I know Judge Roach up in Collin County, and the program that they have incorporated with their Valor program is amazing. It's patterned off of, and they got all the information from the National Center for Returning Healthy Veterans. Now, Kasey, you're up in Denton County. That's a huge veterans court as well.
Yes, Judge Forrest Beadle, we're actually just received a grant as well from TVC this year. So that's the first time that they've received one in a couple of years that they've applied for one. But it's just going to make that treatment court so much more successful, allowing the veterans to go through that treatment court and not having to worry about paying for their own supplies, paying for urinalysis tests, paying for monitoring devices. It just takes all that weight off of the veterans so they can focus on their treatment.
Kasey, let's stop for just a second, because a lot of people who are watching may not know. The Veterans Court concept started up in Massachusetts many years ago,
Right.
from what I understand. And now it's nationwide. Texas is one of the strongest proponents of that. What does a veteran court do for a veteran? Typical, what veterans are picked up?
Sure. So Veteran Treatment Court, the premise, the idea behind it is that maybe there's an underlying issue that the veteran is dealing with that led them to whatever criminal activity that they were engaged in. We see a lot of DUIs come through the Veteran Treatment Court.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not that the veteran just loves drinking and driving. Maybe there's underlying issues like post-traumatic stress.
All right, I got to take a break. We're going to be coming back after these words from all of our sponsors. Thank you so much, and stay with us. This is Veterans Impact Show. Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation. I have some experience with the Veterans Court in that I provided financial counseling to the Denton County under Judge Garcia. And what I've seen is usually it's men and women who, you're right, DWI or maybe drugs, and where they got picked up, they were given the opportunity to go through the treatment. So the treatment court, a lot of people don't realize it's really a rehab process.
It is.
And it's about a year, isn't it, Kasey?
Yeah, over a year.
It's over a year. And you know, I got to interview back in 2015 the very first graduate of the Denton County Treatment Court, a guy named Michael. And I got to tell you, it changes lives. So what the Texas Veterans Commission, Ileana, is doing in supporting these courts is monster. I mean, it's huge. Now, here's another thing, Ileana, you may not know. The Veterans Court became sort of a standard, and there are now drug treatment courts and others that are a rehab process. So the veterans kind of led the way in this rehab process of a court. So if you're a nonviolent crime and you're picked up, you can choose to go through if you're a veteran, the Veterans Court. You can choose to go to the Drug Treatment Court, the Addiction Court. And it's about a year to a year and a half program. And if you get through it, you'll get your record expunged. Do you realize how huge that is? How negative the impact of having a conviction on you is for so many reasons. Your record can get expunged. And what they do in working with the court is they give these guys second chance, third chance, fourth chance. They really work with them because this is a difficult process. So my hat's off to you. Texas Veterans Commission, you're the ones that fund that. We've also got clinical counseling. I mentioned the housing for heroes, peer support. What else have we got in here? Homeless veterans support. There's all of these things. I think, Ileana, can somebody get a copy of this wonderful list that I've got and go, wow, my 501c3 falls in that category as well.
Website, if you go to tvc.texas.gov/grants, there's a big yellow button that says 2025-2026 grant awardees. That's the same list that you're looking at, Jim.
Yeah, and it's so huge. You have given away $43 million. Million.
Yeah, every year it keeps growing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's because I keep buying all them tickets. My trash barrel's full of them.
Remember, it's the $2 tickets, the $2 veterans tickets. Those are the ones that directly support our fund. That's where the largest. The FVA is funded by those lottery tickets mainly, but if you go and renew your registration, there's a little checkbox that says, do you want to support the Texas Veterans Commission? Also hunting and fishing licenses. If you go and you get your hunting and fishing license, there's also an option there to support the fund.
I hate to tell you, but I'm an old guy and I got my VA disability, so they gave me a free fishing license, and they said, "Go have fun." I go, "When? I work. I don't have time." But it's really, really, really important, and I use that 3 times because that emphasizes how important it is that we support the Texas Veterans Commission, which is a state agency, that we support what they do, and your military peer network. We support that as well because you need other support besides just the TVC, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And the reason why I love what we are able to do and work at a peer support level is that so much of what we do is relational. There are different organizations that we work with that are kind of more transactional, but for good reason. That's what their capacity is. So we work with plenty TVC departments, employment, for example. When we work with a veteran that needs employment, we'll work with their employment liaisons to help them get their resume looked at, to help them kind of place them in a job. And at the same time, we become a hub for them that maybe they need additional financial assistance. Maybe they never applied for disability benefits. So we can look holistically at all these other areas of their life and tap into different resources for them.
You do the same thing I do as a certified senior advisor and look at the whole picture.
Exactly.
Yes.
And try and come up with a program that gets them out of that box, that gets them moving forward with that. And that is critically important because in many cases, seniors, because you're dealing with a lot of seniors as well as younger, the Iraq, Afghanistan, but many times they get into fear mode, they get into isolation, then they get into addiction, or maybe it's the other way around. That's not good. Now, here's the thing that I make a point of all the time. And Cedric, brother, you and I talk about this all the time. The VA and veterans lead the way. We have helped this nation overcome things in the past by leading the way. Most people don't realize the economic booms that came after World War II were fueled by men and women who had served in the United States military and understood management, understood line item management. They also understood adapt, improvise, and what else, Kasey?
Overcome.
Overcome. Excuse me, I'm trying to overcome these allergies. So without a doubt, all of this comes together. So what TVC does, you're going to see in Health and Human Services, you're going to see in other things that are state agencies, correct, Ileana?
Yes,
And,
exactly.
And so we have a total program, and with the military peer network that is so heavily involved, it's one-on-one. You're not necessarily just going to some office and sitting down with some state employee. You're going to be sitting down with somebody who is a military.
Right.
And then when you're talking about spouses, wow. And let me tell you something. I've run into so many things. A lot of people, here's another thing that I really caution people. You want to get a divorce? You better get some real good help, because there's a lot of things you need to know. So what I have learned over the last 10 years of broadcasting, there's nothing easy about all this. Nothing easy about all this. All right, are we about to take a break? No?
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
Well, my wife was over in the corner waving, going, is running out, and I didn't hear the music, so excuse me. I thought maybe somebody was going down for the third time. You know? Hey, this is great, and we're talking about that. And so many things the Texas Veterans Commission does. One of the things is you're involved with the Texas Veterans Land Board. So if a veteran wants to buy a home, they can use that. And if they want to buy a rural property to ultimately build a home, this is one of the best ways they can do it. Best loan in the United States, correct? You also partner, and Kasey, you mentioned this, with the Texas Workforce Commission. They have embedded in every Texas Workforce Commission office a veteran. And most of them are military peer network veterans, aren't they?
Yes, they're Texas Veteran Commission, employment liaisons, and employer liaisons. So we had phenomenal partnerships with them in the Denton County area. One would help with their resumes, kind of figure out what their passions are. And then the other one, the employer liaison, will work with organizations looking to hire on veterans.
You know, excuse me, one of the things is I know Ron Abrams, and he is one of those embedded U.S. Army, and he telling me all the time about how guys come in and can't get a job. And you know why? They have gone to a form of computer analyzation of the resume.
Right.
If your resume is not written right, you ain't getting nowhere, right?
Correct.
Tell us about it, Kasey.
Yeah, you won't even get the first interview if your resume isn't written right. And that's why these services are so beneficial for the veterans, especially if they don't understand how everything they did in the military translates over to civilian side. If they just think that I was kicking indoors and shooting guns, what does that look like on a resume? We can walk through that and say, well, did you ever lead people? Do you have leadership skills? I'm sure there were critical thinking moments that you went through. Were you ever in charge of helicopters or aircraft, and put a dollar amount? I led a group of 10 people, and we were in charge of $60 million worth of aircraft. That looks good on a resume. And that's how you can start bridging that gap a little bit from that military service to civilian side, where those algorithms will pick up on those resumes, those keywords are on that resume.
Yeah, and that's what Ron Abrams was doing in the Fort Worth office of the Texas Workforce. Again, a Texas Veterans Commission employee. Mm-hmm. Also, one of the biggest things is, guys, we're all veterans. You are by, I guess, by spousal.
Yeah.
Tell me, how much fun and how is it to fill out the VA paperwork?
It's not fun. I've helped.
It's not fun. Ileana, you're shaking your head. You know, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not a veteran myself, but I work with the majority of our staff are veterans, and I hear it from not only the folks that I work with, but my brothers are both Marine Corps veterans, and it's hard to navigate. If you don't fill out one thing right, then you're stuck trying to jump hurdles, and we have a department at TVC that can help you fill out that paperwork and fill it out correctly. So if you need help, help is available.
And you are so right. I have been in so many seniors' homes. World War II veterans way back when, I don't see very many of those anymore, but Korean and in between. And I'm talking to them, and I can't hear. They can't hear, And I'm like, you need hearing aids. I'm not going to the VA, man. They're gonna. No, wait a minute. And the paperwork, no. And if you get them hooked up with somebody from the TVC, who's an accredited VA rep, they have access to everything. They can get them a DD 214 just like that if they don't have one. They have all the information. They can walk you through. And all of a sudden, your success rate goes from 0 to 120. I had a client, I've had 20 or 30 this way, but he was sitting in front of me, and I said, I'm screaming. By that time, I was hoarse. And I said, you can't hear. What did you do? And he said, well, I was an artillery commander in Korea. I'm like, no wonder you're deaf. You need to go. And he said, I'm not going to go there, I don't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. I begged his daughter. She took him to the guy that I sent him to, who was a TVC employee, a VA accredited rep. They got him hearing aids, a disability, which meant he got some money. He also got a reduction of his ad valorem real estate taxes, but he got $6,000 worth of hearing aids. And now he's in the VA healthcare system. He's got a great PCP. He's doing good.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask Ileana as well as Becca and Kasey in reference to the Texas Veterans Commission. You're a grantor and you are a grant receiver, right? You asked a moment ago how difficult it is to fill out the VA paperwork. I want to ask these guys from Ileana's perspective and from Becca and Kasey, how difficult is the process, right? For those, the 25, 26 period is getting ready to come up for submitting requests. How difficult, number one, is it to submit for the grant and then to manage and administer the grant once you have it? Can you walk us through that process?
So I will start off by saying that we have made we made it a point to try to make that application as easy as possible for the person that is requesting to be a grantee that's filling out the application to be able to submit it. Now, I want to hear from Kasey and Becca just what their perspective is, because I'm very curious to know. That's a great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally believe that the TVC grant is one of the easiest grants to fill out. It's very black and white. As long as you understand what you're trying to get, what your intended kind of projection, what kind of impact you're trying to make, it's all very simple. It's all just one step at a time to fill out that grant. And this is our first TVC grant. So as far as implementing it, we'll see what that looks like. But we work with hundreds of other organizations that have had TVC grants, and they feel the same way. That's one of the easiest grants to actually operate.
I've known many groups who've gotten TVC grants, and that can make the difference in success or failure of a veteran service organization.
Yeah.
And I think that's tremendously important. But to come back to what you're doing, your grant was really to help veteran spouses. That is so important, Becca.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
I mean, your spouse just helped you a minute ago. We see we're here to support you guys. We're here to support our husbands, our boyfriends, whatever it looks like. When we're equipped to know what you guys need help with and how we can come alongside you and even just support our family, that's what it's all about. So I did want to share a little bit of a story.
Oh, please.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually not about a spouse. I have some of those, but one that kind of stood out to me. We had a veteran come to us about 18 months ago. So that can kind of give you an idea of we can work with them as long as they would like. He came to us looking for assistance with getting counseling. He was an Army medic for 22 years, and we were able to connect him to no-cost counseling through United Way at the time. And then he kept kind of coming back and engaging in different peer groups. And then he also started volunteering with us. And then we got a collaboration going with a local art studio where we got a grant to do an Art for Veterans program. And so I had called him and was like, hey, I just feel like you could be a great leader in this space. And so he actually went to be one of our peer leaders in the group. And then through that group, he ended up getting connected to another organization that serves, it's called Heart for Homes, and it's in Denton. And so now he serves there and volunteers with them. And then recently he connected with us and he got his disability benefits increased. So through just connection, that is our heart, is to see the veterans and their families continue to get connected. And if you see kind of the domino and ripple effect of just the one ask for counseling, how we have seen his life shift and change to his marriage is healing as well through being connected to all these other veterans and these organizations.
Well, Cedric, don't you see that in the marriage counseling that you guys do? Because it's done in a group situation.
I was gonna mention to Becca earlier before we took the break. She had mentioned a couple of things that really, really stood out to me. One of which was, speaking positively to both the spouse and the veteran, right, as well as a person who wants to keep their marriage together. Right? Having that understanding is sometimes they just need the tools, they need the assistance to do so.
Yeah.
And having an organization like this to do that is head and shoulders above what people will get or won't get just sitting in their homes trying to resolve a lot of things themselves. Sometimes it takes just a small bit of positivity to make a huge change and for there to be a paradigm shift in how a person is thinking about their value, their self-worth, right, and the value of their families and how much good they're going to obtain just by remaining in the family and not splitting up. The children need it, the spouses need it, the veterans need it. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Becca,
Okay.
Do you see now more and more today, we're seeing women serving in the military? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was shocked. I went aboard the Truman and filmed a bunch of interviews, and I see young women working on the flight deck, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Do you see men who are taking care of the home front, in other words, role reversal type situation, and some of the issues that they have?
Yeah, we see it. I don't see it as often, but I'm also connected to another network called the Veteran Spouse Network. And they've had a few spouses that are men come through those programs and those peer support groups. So it's definitely there. A lot of times I see that if there's a male spouse, they're also maybe in the military as well. So a lot of times both of them served. But to your point, Cedric, just in alignment with what you were saying, it's so vital because a part of what I do personally from a peer level is I hop on social media and I'm part of a bunch of veteran spouse groups. Some are like wives of PTSD veterans, and a lot of the comments are either anonymous and very negative. And I try to hop in the comments and just give hope to them and say, listen, I haven't even read through the rest of the comments, but I'm here for you if you need support. I am in North Texas, but you can totally reach out to me virtually. And the response I've gotten from that has been incredible. I've actually met a few of those women that have gone on retreats with me as spouses, and they've clung to their marriages instead of listening to all the negativity of just run or do this. It's just that one person that's giving that little seed of hope to say, hey, I see you, you're not alone, but we can work through this together. And so that's just an angle I started to take, because I know that we all go to social media, but we also can isolate and think we're alone in this journey, and we're just not. So,
Becca, how can people get a hold of you?
The negativity runs rampant, right? Negativity is you can get it anywhere you want.
Yep.
It is that small spark of light, that small bit of hope that can be given sometimes, that they're really looking for it, right? Yeah. People tend to gravitate and pile on when it's negative, but if somebody can come in and add some reason, right, some rationale to the situation, give them a little bit of hope, then guess what? They'll start to gravitate to that. If they really want it, now a person has to want it, but if they really want it, they'll gravitate to it very quickly.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
I lost my train of thought.
How can people get a hold of me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, actually,
you missed out your job. You should have.
Support is here. So on my business card and on our website is my cell phone number. And our email address is a great way. We have social media as a Denton County MVPN that a lot of spouses and veterans follow us, and they're able to see what groups we're doing, because we're really good about making sure we post those groups on there. But we have several groups. I won't go into them, but one I'm really excited about is we recently had a surviving spouse who wanted to connect with other surviving spouses to be able to help them. And so she kicks off a peer support group called Angel Wives. And there's going to be about 5 or 6 women who have lost their spouses, some connected to Service Connection. And they're just going to come together for a meal and play games. So,
that is so hugely important. Diane and I were involved in Snowball Express several years ago. What that is an organization that took care of and put on a Christmas event for children that were Gold Star families. And it was here in Dallas. It got moved to Orlando and put under the Gary Sinise Foundation. But it was so amazing, because when these kids would get together, and I would then interview and talk to their parents, quietly they would say, my son or daughter never talked about it. And yet I happened to be in the room, or I happened to hear them have a conversation with somebody that was so healing. And now they go home from the Christmas holiday and it changes. It's not just children, although that is a problem. Yeah. It's many more. So one of the things, when I keep saying, veterans lead the way. We're a very, very small percentage of this American population. When I grew up, every man in my family was a veteran. My father was a radioman. My grandfather had been career Navy. My Uncle John, 82nd Airborne, Bastogne. My Uncle Jimmy, B-17 pilot. All of that was very in our family's face. It's not that case anymore. So a lot of people don't understand. And when I start talking to young people about what are the advantages of being in the military, they don't understand that organizations like TVC, that we have built now, Military Peer Network, Spousal Peer Network, all kinds of things to support that military family and to make it work. So when we come back after these words from all of our partners, we're going to be finishing up and wrapping up, and I'm going to bring this back into the dock. We want to talk about the importance of TVC and what it does. This is Jim Blythe and Cedric White. We're here for you with the Texas Veterans Commission today. 2 recipients, Military Peer Network, Becca Hobby and Kasey Brown. Kasey and I have known each other a couple of years. He does amazing work. And Ileana, I am so glad to meet you, because now I know who to call and say, hey, you want to know where the money comes from? Call the money lady. And we're gonna show the TVC website to be able to direct people to the right place. So we'll be right back after these words.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
I don't think a lot of people really realize who are civilians how many things in the civilian world are the same as the military world. And we're not taking care of them is the way that the military world is stepping up to the plate to take care of our people. Agree or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, veterans lead the way, whether there's I always like to see the kind of silver lining in a lot of this. And when we look at veteran suicide, when we look at veteran divorce rates, when we look at veteran homelessness, so many of the programs and organizations that come out of such a horrible thing create an amazing place to be, an amazing community to have. And we can start using what we've learned from the veteran population and start transferring that over to the civilian side, whether it's substance use or suicide ideation. So it just really kind of, I think, broadens our outlook on what people are going through. What does mental health look like in the civilian world, not just the veteran community?
Without a doubt. And Cedric, when you teach, one of the most amazing things is you teach the boots on, boots off. That is a concept that I never understood. And when I say that, Becca, I bet it rings with you. You know, you go from police officer, you go be in a combat, whether or not you're in the front lines fighting or whether or not you're on an aircraft carrier trying to keep the planes in the air or to Air Force Base, you still have a different mentality when you're on the job. You are focused 100%, correct?
Right. No, we teach boots on, boots off. We teach suits on, suits off, and we teach blue on, blue off, right? So that's for military, that's for executives, that's for police officers. Why? Because there's a specific mindset that has to be in place. When I'm deployed, when I'm in that executive position, or when I am an officer on the street, I have to have a specific mindset for the safety of myself and the safety of those around me, right? However, when I come home, I have to change. When I come off deployment, when I come off the ship, when I come off the base, I've got to change my mentality because my wife and my children are not part of the military. For my execs, they're not part of your company. For my police officers, they're not part of the department. So there has to be a way to help them change the mindset going into, because you're entering into literally a different world. And if you can't, a lot of families are broken. A lot of divorces happen because why? I can't change from my way of thinking from a deployment to my way of thinking when I'm back in the civilian world. And quite often they need help with that.
You know, Cedric, one of the worst things that we see all too often is road rage and people doing bad things with road rage. Road rage is the same thing as what you do as a result of the military, right, Kasey?
Yeah, it's that flight or fight response, and just triggers on and off. And we always, like, just like you said, Cedric, the identity of a veteran. What does that look like? And are you able to turn it on and off? That's the biggest issue that we see. The biggest concern is dealing with veterans that cannot turn that fight or flight off. That they are always that identity of a military member, even if they've been out for 10 years, they still feel the need to always be right. Mission comes first, to not accept defeat. All these things that are great for fighting wars, but not great when you're having a conversation with your spouse, or you're trying to have a conversation with your employer and they're trying to teach you something. If you come from that mindset of, the mission comes first, or I'll never accept defeat, you almost become untrainable in the eyes of the civilian population. So it's really, really detrimental in some points not being able to turn that on and off.
And I think that
we have to explain to them quite often, you know what, you can take back control, right? In the military, there's an order is given and an order is taken, right? And if I ask questions after that order is given, lives can be lost, machinery can be, but here in the civilian world, listen, you have choice, which gives you control of some things. It's not automatic, right? You don't have to go on that fight or flight. Everything is not adversarial. You can reason. The neocortex, the hot brain, the higher order of thinking. We want you to start back using that, right? When you're dealing with your loved ones, which are not at odds with you, which are not at war with you. You know what? You're on the same team. So now let's start operating that way and start handling one another differently.
Jordan, could you please put up the TVC website again, that Ileana's, so we can see the grants? You just go to the Texas Veterans Commission. There you go, right there. You can take a
Yes.
look. There's a 26-25 grant awardees. This that I have right here. And take a look. That's where you find
So
out.
if you want to,
Yes, ma'am.
if you don't mind me, if you don't mind me interjecting, I really want to make sure to get this point across. So the Fund for Veterans Assistance does not award funding to individuals or families. We fund local government, nonprofits, and veteran service organizations like Becca's and Kasey's. But if you are a veteran and you need help and you need assistance, you can go on our website. It's tvc.texas.gov/fund, FUND, and it'll pull up a list of all of our grantees. That we've got contact information for all of our grantees for 24-25, and then on July 1st it'll switch over to the 25-26 grantees that are ready to provide you with the help that you need, whether it be mental health assistance, peer support, financial assistance. Go on our website, and if you go to tvc.texas.gov/fund, it'll take you straight to our directory to get the help that you need.
And you want to buy the $2 veteran ticket.
And buy the $2 veteran
At the gas station. And real quick, Kasey, is there the website? Let's put up the website for MVPN. Is this a national organization or is this a state?
So this is Texas wide. So we are under the Texas Veterans Commission Veterans Mental Health Department. So if you see there, we have all the different kind of subsections of the Veterans Mental Health Department, ours being that Military Veteran Peer Network. And it's a very interactive link that'll bring you to a map of all the different providers throughout the state of Texas. So we cover all 254 counties. If there are any veterans in need in Waco, in Austin, you just click on that county that you're in, and up will pop up their peer service coordinator.
All right, Pastor, how about a quick prayer to close this thing? We've got less than 30 seconds.
We can do that. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for those who help and those who provide help to the helpers, the TVC. Father God, we thank you for them. We ask that you continue to help veterans, help veteran organizations who are looking to help our country. Father, keep this country as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. This is
Beautiful.
Veterans Impact Show. We're here for you.